Now, thanks to the kind of job I have, I've been lucky enough to drive almost every single electric car that's on sale in India right now. But whenever I drive one such electric car, the most number of questions are usually on the lines of, when are we going to get an electric car that's meant for everyone? Well, MG has gone ahead and made one such car. It's exciting in almost every single way, unless you're a dinosaur, because this car is called the Comet. Well, let's start with the design of the car, because I think this is what will get a lot of people talking. Well, of course, first thing first are the dimensions of the car. Now, this is about 3 meters long and 1.5 meters wide. So you get the idea, this is a really compact car. If you take a closer look at the design, and what stands out are the connected light designs, both at the front, and I'll make you see at the back as well. It's over there too. You have the MG logo. Now in this car, if I just unlock it, you can see the logo is illuminated, and when you press it, well, what you get access to is the charging port. We close this, and what you see also are headlamps that are placed down below, and a pretty flat-ish profile at the front, aiding those compact dimensions. Now let's get on over to the side, and what stands out here is the fact that it's only got a single door. Yes, this is a 3-door hatch and not a 5-door conventional hatchback that you're used to seeing. Now, it is from here that you really realize the dimensions of the car. It is a compact vehicle. What stands out for me though are these 12-inch wheels. Now, these are quite small, but at least they get a good design on them. And I never thought I'll say this, 12-inch wheels don't seem under-tired on a car this size, because that's how compact this car is. But also, special mention, this part right here, this is the quarter glass for your passengers. Now coming to the back, well, again you get a split light setup. This is where all the braking lights and everything are, and you also have a connected light up here at the top, which really looks smart. Now in regular MG fashion, there's a lot of lettering at the back, but that is what the MG Comet is like. Now coming to the inside of the MG Comet EV, the first thing you realize is the amount of space on offer. Now, I'm not saying that this is a 7-seater SUV, of course, but what really stood out for me is the fact that when you have somebody seated over here, like I had our DOP Vishal sit next to me, the shoulders weren't rubbing, and I think that's a good thing in a car this size. 2 people can sit here in their own zones, if that is what you're wondering. Now, about the design itself, it's very modern. It's very futuristic and simplistic at the same time. There is a heavy use of light colors all across the cabin. What MG calls it is a space gray, so an Apple reference for you over there. And what's also very Apple-like are these audio controls on the steering wheel. They are very iPod-like, if you're old enough to remember that. What's also nice is this single panel up here, which houses 2 10.25-inch screens, which is the infotainment system and the instrument cluster, all of which are completely digital. Now, the displays, the graphics, the UI, everything is top-notch in similar MG fashion. And what is really good is that this infotainment system comes with wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay, and of course Bluetooth as well. So no wires hanging around anywhere. In case you need to charge it, your device or anything, you have a couple of USB ports down here under the dash, and MG says that they support fast charging. What I also like are these 2 hooks that are inside here. They pop out and they hide away. A good touch if you're carrying, well, your everyday groceries or something, you can just hang them there. I think that's clever use of space. Speaking of which, you don't have a conventional glove box. What you get is this dash compartment over here, so you can keep your phone if required. But what's also interesting is how MG has made use of space in the doors. Now, for example, I own an iPhone 14 Pro Max. This is a pretty sizable phone, and even with the case on, what it is supposed to go in is this slot in the door, so I can just place it there. And I think that's the way it goes in there, it's really satisfying. And what's also interesting is that MG has made use of space on the doors in such a manner that you can also slot in your laptops in there if required. So for those office commutes, if it's a laptop that you carry every day, well, you don't really need a bag now, you can do that through your car. I think that's a very good touch. What's also interesting is that there is a 12-volt power socket hidden right here, so you can charge bigger devices if required. And you also get an IRVM with day-night function, which is a good addition. Other than that, what's also clever are these two cup holders that are placed right in front of the AC vents on the dash. So if you're having a chilled one, you can keep it cool for a longer time. But keep in mind that will block the AC vent from throwing wind right at your face if that is something you like. Other than that, your HVAC controls are all knobs. They're not fully touch based, and I'm glad, because knobs are always better. And what you have here is a button that says E/S. That's for driving modes, because this car comes with not one but three: eco, normal and sport driving modes. How is it to drive? We'll get to that in a bit. What I also like is the amount of space that's open for your feet and your knees, because this is a floating dash design. It's not connected via a central tunnel, so you can man spread if you are into that in this car as well. What's good about this feature is that if you want to shift between the shotgun seat and the driver's seat, you can do that with ease as well. That is a functional use. What's here, where you would usually expect a transmission lever, is a rotary dial that helps you slot between reverse, neutral and drive, and of course a parking mode as well. Now keep in mind, the car does not come with a creep function, which means even if it's in drive, if you take your foot off of the brake pedal, the car will not creep up ahead and will stay in its location. So you can leave it on drive and drive without fiddling around with the knob. What's behind it are the window controls, and of course you have a manual handbrake lever, the good old-fashioned way. Now what's really interesting is that MG has not given any start-stop button on the dash, and there's no keyhole either for ignition, because how you start this car is by double pressing the brake lever, and that is when the car is ready to go, and there is a ready sign on your instrument cluster telling you that if you put it in drive, the car will start to move. In terms of space, well, I'm 5'10", and you can see the ergonomics, well, they're decent. I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable place to be in, but it does fit me, it fits me well. And what stands out is the amount of visibility outside, what everything is going on. You can see here with ease. Even the A-pillar does not come in the way. And with this much space, light use of materials and colors, the car actually feels quite big from the inside, something that you don't expect when you look at it from the outside. Now coming to the rear seat experience, well, what's surprising once again is the amount of space on offer. Now to give you an idea, I've set the front seat as per my requirement. Once again, for reference, I'm 5'10", and you can see I still have decent amount of knee room and headroom on offer. Shoulder room, not so much, but then again, it's not a claustrophobic experience. Instead, it's some place where I wouldn't mind sitting for a couple of hours for those everyday city commutes. And that is something that I didn't expect I would say about the Comet EV once I got to see just how compact the car is. Now, all of this has been possible because this is, well, an EV, and as a result it has a battery pack under the floor. There's no conventional transmission tunnel, and that has allowed MG to open up all this space out here inside the cabin. Now with that done, let's take a quick look at the boot space. Now talking about the boot space, well, of course this is how you open the boot of the Comet EV, and what you'll see here is a bag. We'll come to the boot space in a bit, because this bag is really important, because what it has is the 3.3 kilowatt hour onboard charger that you get complimentary with the car. Now 3.3 kilowatt hour charging is not fast by any means of imagination, but remember, this has a small battery pack as well, 17.8 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery. As per MG's claims, this will charge from 0 to 100% in 7 hours and 10 to 80% in a matter of 5 hours. But don't fret about that. Basically what the idea is, overnight charging will give you a full charge the next day, so keep that in mind. Now, talking about the boot space, well, Of course, you can fold these down, but when they're up, a bag like this is what you can store here, maybe 2 more of such bags, but that is all the space is usable for. However, you can fold the boot space down, and once you do, quite a lot of space opens up here at the back. Now, remember, if you're buying a car like this, there's a possibility that it might be your secondary or tertiary car, and as per that usage, you might not always have 4 occupants inside this car, and when you don't, you can actually use it as a 2-seater with a good amount of boot space out here at the back. Practicality wise, at least, the MG Comet EV scores very high in my books. Now, with all of that done, it's time to get to the interesting bit. It's time to go for a drive. Well, now that we are out driving the MG Comet EV, the first thing that really stands out is, well, the car itself. Ever since I've been driving this since morning all around the city of Delhi, people have been turning around and looking at this car, and the reaction has honestly been a mix of shock and awe. Many of the people go, "Oh, that's a cute car, that looks nice," and a lot of the people are in shock that how is that car so small. So if you like being the center of attention, if you like being talked about, this is something that will make you stand out for sure. But talking about the driving experience in itself, well, the first thing you notice once you sit here is the driving ergonomics, of course. And on that front, you realize that you're seated quite high and upright with respect to the car, of course. And as a result, you get a driving posture that's really comfortable and slightly different than your regular sedans or sporty cars per se. Well, to answer the question of how the car drives, there were a few questions in my mind in the first place. Do I take it to twisty roads and talk about its cornering abilities on 12-inch wheels? No, that doesn't really make sense. Or do I take it off-roading and do all of that stuff? Not really. So I just brought it out here in everyday driving conditions, because from the ground up, this is what the car is meant to be. It's a purely utilitarian tool to make your commute from point A to point B easier, more cost effective, and something that you can drive around with ease in everyday driving conditions. You can park with ease, and that is where the other things really make the car feel better, like parking, for example. The turning radius of this car, as per MG, is only 4.2 meters, so taking U-turns in tight spots is really not a problem. And this car does come with rear parking camera and rear parking sensors, so you've got that helping you out. As for when you're out driving on the road, the performance is not the quickest, to be honest, because after all, it's only making about 41 brake horsepower from the single motor that it has. But again, that's okay, because even with cars that are twice, thrice or 4 times more powerful out on the same road, we are all doing 30 kilometers an hour in Delhi's city driving conditions. So it doesn't really matter. But since it's an EV, you put the foot down, you get that roll-on acceleration. So you feel like you're driving an aptly powerful car. So if you want to make those quick overtakes, you don't really have a problem. Yes, you have 3 driving modes, and that changes things a bit here and there, but it's best driven with the light foot, and that is when you really start to enjoy this car, because you're not worried about space that is available on the road, and of course it's a quiet experience. If you want music, you've got 2 speakers, but they are actually quite good, the sound experience, given that it only has 2 speakers. One peculiar thing I do want to mention about the car is how it is set up suspension wise. Undulations the car can deal with without any problems, but the big potholes, that is where you have to be careful. Even the ground clearance is okay, but it's those bad patches of roads that you really have to look out for, because yes, the suspension has been stiffened up a bit, especially for Indian driving conditions, and since it is an EV, it has to deal with all that weight, and as a result, the drive experience is slightly on the stiffer side. And yes, there is suspension travels in the car, of course, but while you're in the range of where the suspension can operate, The car feels just fine, but the issue is that there is not a lot of travel in the first place. So it can bottom out if you're not careful on those bad patches of road. But other than that, there have been no issues whatsoever. Last but not the least, there are also regen modes on the car, regenerative braking, which puts some of the charge back into the battery while you're applying brakes. There are 3 levels to choose from. I only ended up putting it in normal, and that just felt like normal braking experience. The front brakes are discs, so the car stops all right. All in all, the performance doesn't really stand out, neither in a good way nor in a bad way, and I think that's a good thing. So to sum it all up, what I have to say is that this Comet EV is a very different experience, one that takes a little bit of time to get used to, but once you do, it is something that you quite enjoy a lot. And the best part is that you get to have a hassle-free driving experience because of the dimensions of the car, and you get to have that badge of an eco-warrior in front of your friends because, well, you're doing your bit for the environment while driving an electric vehicle, so you get to boast that as well. I think MG has a good product on their hands. The Comet EV is something I definitely look forward to driving again. So well, there you have it. This is the MG Comet EV for you and everything that you need to know about it. Now, at the time of shooting this video, we don't know the price of the car, and of course that is going to play a crucial role in this car's success. However, in my opinion, the biggest challenge for MG now will be to prevent the commercialization of this car if they want it to be an electric car for the masses, because what they're going for is a very spirited, rational, youth-oriented image. Now, keeping that with an aggressive price tag, well, that will be something that I look forward to seeing how it pans out. As for the car itself, I rate it quite highly. I think it's a niche product, but for the right kind of usage scenario, this is actually perfect and makes a lot of sense, even as compared to cars that are twice or thrice more expensive than what this is expected to be. With that said, there is a comet here in India. Will it wipe out the dinosaurs? Well, only time will tell. So there you have it. That was the MG Comet EV review. How did you find it? Is there anything you have to say? Any feedback for us? Any changes you want to make in our format? Well, I'm more than happy to listen to everything you have to say, bad or even good, because that is something I really look forward to. Let us know in the comments how you find the car, how you find our review, and make sure you share it with your friends if you like it, and post something nice. It really makes our day. I'll be hanging around in the comments and seeing what you have to say about the car and about this review. But before I say goodbye, there's a question that I want to leave here. Let me know if you have the answer for it. Now, leaving everything aside, the electric badge is quite nice, but have you seen this letter E somewhere else? Here's a hint, maybe in a German car. Well, let us know in the comments.